how to make your own costumes, or have really nice people make them for you. Thanks for coming, guys. I'm going to be constantly pushing my hair out. Kenny Crow is going on. So scary. I like him. I like Vive is so interesting because you don't ever see characters that look like that in video games. So I liked him a lot. And Arden is just great. He's just so slimy. I answered this. I had a really good answer and I forget. Dang it. Puri Puri Prisoner, I would want as far away from as possible. Okay, so definitely Master of Masters, just to have someone who's magical and makes stuff appear and like be cool. And be a cool one to hang out with. I would want, I don't know if I'd want to hang out with Noctis.
This is Adam Crosdale, the English voice of Ignis Yensia, coming at you from EXP Con. We wish that you were here today. We have a few things over here given to me by fans and wonderful handlers. The first is this amazing chocolate chip cookie. I shall be digging into it in a second or two. The second of which, from my beautiful handler Sarah, are these two fruit bars, and they're called That's It! I wish you guys were here with us, and I'm going to say it for you. That's it! I've come up with a new recipe!
It's like, oh, like, kind of cool. We both kind of had that vibe. But I'm wondering, like, if any of that has gotten back to you, or, like, I mean, if it,
Yeah, it sure has.
With it?
It sure has. And I'm very excited about that. I think it's brilliant. I think there's an underrepresentation of most every sort of minority in popular culture in the West. So any time that there's a representation, I'm all for it. Yes, I think there's a good chance that Ignis might be quitting. I mean, it's great, isn't it? I mean, I think the sooner we can all start having conversations with it, about it, and like just putting our faces out there, being heard about these things, making friends. I mean, there's too much, people got too much stuff bumbling around in here. Like, we just need to start being cool with each other, don't you think? I'm so tired of everyone having a problem with the next person. I mean, for God's sake, get over it. Everybody just get over it, you know? Whatever it is, whatever your issue is with the next person, bloody get over it. And that's something that I love about this particular fan base, is and something I remark upon a lot. Because I'm parts of other fan bases in a roundabout way. I'm part of Supernatural, where I'm part of Rain in another way. I'm part, you know, but nowhere more so than in Final Fantasy 15, where I've just noted time and time again just how cool people are with each other and how supportive they are, and just how anybody can be precisely who they want to be, and everyone's just like cool, and I just love it. I think that I want the space to ripple out and expand, and to just be a thing, and I wish more people would, because you know, I'm on another, or had been on another certain show, which will remain nameless at this particular point in the conversation, but the fandom is so divisive, and they are so factional, and this group supports this group of characters when they show, and this, and never the twain shall meet, and F you, and it's just, it's the antithesis of what happens here. And so it's been an absolute delight to have it happen here. And if Ignis is sort of representative of that, then so much the better. I'm damn proud to be the voice of him. I think I've seen all sorts of interesting things on there. I've seen a lot of fan art. Sometimes he's not wearing very many clothes. And often he's with Gladdy. You know, yeah, there's sometimes a little glimpse of Nick. No, No, it's great. It's great, and I think that have conversations, and importantly, like be who you are. 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 I can't emphasize it enough. Go out there and be who you are. I had a moment in a shopping centre, probably last Christmas, I was getting something for my mum at the cosmetics counter. And I saw a trans girl of about, I would say about maybe 24 or 25, standing there, looking absolutely beautiful at the makeup counter, serving customers, and there's a big rush of customers at Christmas, must be the busiest time, right? And she was so standing in her dignity and in who she was that I got a bit choked up, because I was like, I can't imagine how brave you must be to do something like that. And to be so natural and wonderful, and of course that's obviously how everybody is. But it's also informed by how people sort of take you, and there was something about her that was, she was so unafraid, she hadn't sort of lifted any, what's the best way to say it, sort of fortification. She wasn't sort of like, fuck you, this is who I am, you know? She was just who she was. And I got a bit choked up, and she must have thought I was pretty strange. But I didn't explain myself, but I just got choked up, because I thought, thank you for being who you are. Like, thank you, you know? And hopefully we get there. Hopefully we get there. It takes a long time for straight white males to get there. Like, probably, you know, lots of people. It takes a long time. But well, people will only ever get there if you keep being who you are. And just being cool. And you are. So thank you. And thanks to the whole community that's embraced this franchise, this fandom, and also Iggy. And thank you for the question.
Yeah, of course.
I just feel like y'all, if I could ever get you guys to actually have a conversation as your characters, it would just be so amazing.
Well, let's try and make it happen then.
Totally. But yeah, no, like, do you know Balthier's character?
I do.
I just feel like y'all, like, that would just be such a cool, like, interaction.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I must ask her. I'll ask her. I'll say she'll do this. Put it online. I don't know you yet, so I don't know what your scale's like.
Courtney, like me, is a pretty easy crier.
Okay, then you're gonna cry hard.
Oh! Please, turn my
I've mixed it up too much. No, you won't cry hard. I don't know. It's hard for me to say.
I cried all the way through chapter 10, so I probably would have cried.
Welcome in the back. Hey, look at you guys.
Get you in to get you ready to be a
That's right. You know, it's really quite simple, and I've said it before, but it's just his name. It's just not.
I thought so.
So when I stand up there, I look at him and I'm just start going, not. Not. Oh, not. And suddenly I find myself like right in character. It's like a parent, I think. I just become a parent in that way. You know what? I think it is in a sort of strangely meta way. It has changed me, obviously, and it's in 3 years. And initially you go and you just do what you think is best for the character, obviously. And there was a sense of people have been waiting for this for 10 years. So I did have that in the back of my mind, but I try not to. You often can't let the enormity of the thing as an actor. It can sort of stultify you. It can drop you like at the knees. So you try not to get into that space too much because it's inhibitive of your work. But I knew that, and I didn't want anybody to. I was like, guys, we better not F this up. Right? So that was my sort of sense, but having thought that and said that, I had to let it go, because then you've got to concentrate on bringing the character to life, and then you become sort of a technician, and you hopefully let some flow through, and you create a character and let that happen. That's taken 3 years, and we're still in process, right? We're not done yet, which is amazing, and it's a gift that keeps giving. But in terms of it changing me, certainly, maybe not in the booth, but the reflection that comes back through all of you guys. I don't mean to get soppy, and I'm not getting soppy. I'm just sort of telling you factually. Like this, somehow, the combination of these myriad technicians and artists has led to this moment, right? Right now. Like we're all here because of an army of people who are specialists. And somehow magic has happened through that process. And reflected back is everybody here, and you're as much now, and always were going to be a part of the process as much as any of the technicians, because obviously art needs an audience, it needs to be observed, it needs to be consumed, enjoyed, integrated, all thrown away, and here we all are. And I've just seen, I've had the most amazing interactions with people over the course of Final Fantasy 15 coming out. I've had people come up on the street, I've had people at parties, I've had people wherever come up and sort of talk about it. And for people who are, I've had guys come up and go, bro, I'm not a crier, but, and I'm like, that's amazing to me, that sort of inveterate gamers can come up, and new gamers alike come up and they sort of go, I was moved, something in that, something that you guys did, and look, no one can take the credit individually at all, but something happened and it touched people, and man, that's the only reason that artists want to make art, is to touch people. And the fact that it's so obviously, the fact that we're all sitting here together has touched people, that changes me, because everybody has taken what's touched them, and they've integrated it into who they are. Somehow they've consumed the art, and then they're reflecting it back. And I see the personalities, I see your personality. We've spent time. And a variety of other people I have spent time with, and I've been absolutely changed and coloured by the work as a whole, by its integration and its reflection back. I've seen people be possibly, I don't know, but as a group, maybe their best selves. I mean, when I go on Twitter, which is not very much these days, and see how supportive every one of you are. Like, one person gets a photograph and the other people go, I'm so happy for you, for you. That's the type of selflessness that I practice in my spirituality. I would aspire to practice in my life and such, And you guys are actively, practically doing that. And that to me says, catch a wake-up call. This is how it can be. It's how it can be. And hopefully society, as we sort of come out of this, if you believe in the Indian sort of spirituality at all, or Buddhism and all the rest, if you're into all that type of stuff, well, the Indians talk about that. They talk about these great sort of cycles of time called yugas. Great cycles of time, 24,000-year cycles. And they say that we've just all been in the Kali Yuga, which is down at the bottom. It's the darkest sort of, most difficult period in a 24,000-year Yuga. And the pundits say, well, we're just coming out of the Kali Yuga into a time of sort of being a bit better. And they call it the Dwapara Yuga. Now, if that's to be believed, we're all coming out as society around the world, global society, out of a very, very dark and difficult time. And it's gone on for a couple of thousand years. It's been, luckily the Kali Yuga, according to them, is much shorter than the other Yugas. But we're coming into a more enlightened era, the Dwapara Yuga. And if that's to be believed, if the energy does support that, then this type of society where you sort of look out for the next person, and are kind to the next person, and are inclusive of the next person, well, I'm all about it. I want it to ripple out, and I want us to all can grab on. And look, sure, there's a certain amount of make-believe. We're all here, we're all make-believe artists as well as really real practical people in the world. But don't just let it be about a con. Take it into the office, take it into the workplace, and ripple it out further. And even if they are still dicks to you, that you've given them something to think about, you know? So yeah, by all means, it's absolutely shifted me and changed me and challenged me to be better myself.
Life, because I'm sorry, I'm getting guilty now, but you know, ever since Ignis was a child, his life has revolved around Noctis, and you know, now at the end, you know, he doesn't have that purpose anymore. So how do you think Ignis might have lived out his years?
That's a very good question.
Thanks, Satan. I just want to know what your take is on it, because you know, we all have our own personal visions for, you know, how Ignis might live out his life. But what's your take on it?
That's very interesting. Yeah, my first thing was like, you know, what if it's always a relationship rather like Alfred and Bruce Wayne? But I mean, I would imagine that I would imagine Ignis is always going to. I almost sort of seeing him putting himself out to pasture, like on a ranch somewhere, becoming a man of letters and reading a lot, and being called in to advise whenever he was needed. I think he would always have an amazing relation. I mean, the princeling is a son to him. You know, you can't undo that. Like, yeah, I think he would always be just out of sight enough, but always close enough to get there in an instant. And however that sort of took form, I think that would be it. Yeah, he's the father. He's the father that Noct actually doesn't have it, and he sort of embodies all that came to kingdom. You know, all of the old school. He's sort of a bridging gap between Regis and that echelon, and then the new lads that come up. And he's got all that knowledge and all that experience, and he'll sit them down and recount the stories. And if Noctis were not to be quite in his clear and perfect power, I would imagine if delusions of grandeur suddenly took hold, which sometimes happens with these great people, I would imagine Ignis would be there very gently but very firmly to pull them right back into the correct headspace. Yeah, that's sort of the realm that I think he would have. But I imagine him almost on a ranch somewhere, Ignis, not in the city, reading, thinking, watching, listening. And like with an incredibly... Oh, yes. Well, you know, this is the far-flung future. You don't know, like, what levels of perception there are out there. But with a transport quick enough to get there, stat to help at any time. I just wore a set that
I mean, like, that's your absolute favorite. Is that it?
Yeah, no, do you know what I really do quite like, and it's because of the Englishman in me, is his sort of grey and white pinstripe suit. And the bracelets, like, you know,
Very
sweet.
dapper.
Well, yeah, he's rocking it.
He's a dapper man.
He's a
very
dapper man.
dapper.
He watches Dave Gandy, like
Oh my goodness. Oh my god.
at the back there. Good cook, except I'm very lazy about it. I'm a vegetarian, so I've learned over the years, because often you go places and there's not a good vegetarian selection. So to sort of regard food as just fuel, often. So it's like, so long as it's clean and good fuel, I'll have it and throw it together really quick. But spending lots of time in the kitchen, I think if I ate everything, I'd probably really be into it, like, you know. But there's a lot that I don't eat, sort of for moral reasons. So I'm just like, you can only make an egg so exciting.
And toast.
And toast, yeah, toast. I do a great burnt toast.
Are you vegetarian because of what you talked about earlier, with some like your spirituality beliefs tying into Indian and Eastern?
Yeah, it came sort of that way round, but since then, it's not just a moral thing. it's really an economic and a climate thing, and I'm sure we all know. And for those that don't, really, to raise one cow, that is hundreds of thousands of gallons of water, and the amount of grain needed to feed one cow is a huge patch of land that often is deforested in order to get that grain. Most of our grain supplies in the world are to feed livestock. So if you take that same acre of land that you could use to raise one head of cow, and you planted vegetarian meals, you could get thousands of vegetarian meals out of the same space. So economically, it makes no sense. And by the way, climate change is real. If you haven't been watching the news, I mean, if you haven't experienced it, as I know a lot of you have on this coast, and it's due to a degree to the amount of methane put out by all the livestock. By the way, the amount of methane that animals poop out is more of a problem than all of world transport combined in terms of heating up this atmosphere. So every time you have a burger, and everyone thinks, oh, we can't do anything about climate change. We can't do it. It's too big of a problem. No. Every time you eat a meal, you are voting on the environment. If you choose a slab of meat, you've chosen to heat up the environment. That is science. So we all should think about that. And I'm not saying don't eat meat. I've never said that. My thing is eat less beef. Hashtag eat less beef. Because we all can have less. We don't have to not have it, but we can all have less. And by the way, if you reduce, why did I read this? It was in the UK just before I left. They said if you reduce your red meat intake to less than 4 meals a week, you are 50% less likely to get colon cancer. That's what the scientists in the UK say, a whole broad spectrum of scientists. So if you can just bring down your red meat intake, you're helping your body, let alone the environment. So there's a myriad reasons why not to eat as much meat. I never say don't eat it at all, but just eat less, and you'll be healthy. Hi, Adam Crowsdale here. Voice English here. It's a pleasure and a privilege to see you all here today. I'm loving being here with all the Chocobros for the first time ever.
I'm the director, Keith Farley. I'll be known by that moniker for the rest of my life, I suppose. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to be here in Florida with all y'all. Thanks for coming out. We're going to have fun. And thank you for the kind smattering of applause.
Chris Parson, Gladio. My name is Ray Chase. I play Noctis. This is Caleb. And Keith here forgot to mention that he's in the game too. He plays the cup noodle salesman. You can hear him there.
I don't like to brag.
No. My name's Robbie and I play Dino! Hey! Dino! I play your blonde picture taken by Prompto. Guys, we dressed up. We did it.
Favorite thing, one of the cool things, again, working with Keith, this was my very first video game, like legit video game that wasn't a Russian iPhone app. And Keith brought me on, and so I was super green and super nervous and stuff, and he said many times, especially towards the end, like how much all of us have changed during these 3 years working on this. Playing a lead character in a video game takes a lot of sessions and a lot of hard work to get through, and discovering that has been my favorites. And my least favorite thing about Noct is roughly 85% of his lines is, yeah. And after a while you're like, can't you just use one of the other ones?
things each time. Sometimes you really do have the emotional scope to find something very different and interesting. And sometimes you just can't find an extra way to do it. So by the time you've cleared B with something brilliant, you're like, oh shit, I've got C now. How am I going to interpret that? And so that's a good and a bad thing. And I think another good and a bad thing about the whole thing is loving sort of the wordplay, because we have some great writers on the game that are really fantastic, top notch. And you really, I don't know, maybe it's my English here, but I like to sort of really sort of get into the juice of what he's saying sometimes, and invariably I will always go long on the line, like by nanoseconds, hundreds of seconds, and I'll be convinced that I've come in on time. He'll go, no mate, sorry, just, you know, hundredth of a second over this time. Thank God we have this engineer called, and thank God he's called us Z-Rad, who actually manages to sculpt our voices and just shorten it and make and absolutely tailor it into the time needed. And yeah, it's been a pleasure watching that all happen. Totally new experience for me. Yeah, it's been a thrill. Stage actors, you obviously get the script ahead of time. You never get the script ahead of time in something like this. So you arrive at work and they're like, cool, we've got some great scenes for you. They're inside the booth, and then Keith will give me the skinny before I go, and I'm just like, okay, that's what we're doing. And then we have to get there. So, you know, you just dive into, you know, emotional recall, all those types of things that you taught to do as an actor, and jump in. And obviously after, you know, the trauma of what you went through, you just sort of have to find trauma in your own self, stuff that you've read about, seen, and dig into that. So yeah, but it's quite quick. And thankfully, Keith has got a theatrical background as well, so he knows the actor's process. And we sort of talk about a few things, and then you just jump in. Yeah.
It's really funny. It's a laugh
riot. Absolute laugh a minute. Gather the family around. Like, get all the young ones close to the screen. Might make some popcorn. Yeah, it's just it's a deepening and a fleshing out and some, you know, obviously in the Final Fantasy way, like surprises and knowing what we already do know about him. You know, perhaps, you know, get a little box of Kleenexes. Get your mates together and just get a little box of Kleenexes and watch it together. But I can't say much more than that, unfortunately.
You'll see. You'll see.
You'll see.
Bench time. Noctis is incapable of taking care of himself, even in civilization. It requires Ignis, so even if he's naked and afraid, as long as Ignis is there, he's under his protection. That's all he needs.
I shall fashion you a suit out of fronds, my lord.
That's all it is. He's gone. Land is dark. The moon is the only light. You see it? No, I won't.
Be afraid. No, I won't. Be afraid. Just as long as you stand. Stand by me.
So, darling.
Hey, she's joining us all the way. She came all the way up from Brazil to come see us.
Brazil.
She's one of our favorite online friends who we're meeting in real life. Yeah. It happens. Dreams come true.
For me?
For us.
I think you're playing like King Regis or something. I don't know.
He's playing Eras. I would love to hear Eras.
Wait, this is...
We don't have time to make this whole thing.
Is there one with all of us in it?
Yes, the pink one.
The pink one. Let's do that.
The one at the end.
This one? The cleaning? Scene 13? Is that the one you were talking about?
The pink tab. Yes.
Is that the pink tab?
Who's teaming?
I've got it. Looks like I've got it.
Chocobros?
Yeah, it would be the cleaning then.
Okay, the big one.
The Chocobros one.
Keith will read stage directions.
Sure.
There's also like,
I'll read all the incidental characters.
What is Archive of Our Own on top man? I'm just kidding. I make a joke.
So, scene 13?
Scene 13.
Scene 13 here. Let's do it. Cleaning. Interior Noctis's apartment, night. Somewhat later than planned, Prompto and Gladio are busy helping Noct clean his apartment and prepare to move out. Noct's remaining possessions lie strewn about in haphazard piles, and while progress is being made, the place looks messier than ever.
I know where everything is. No big deal.
Prompto is rather half-heartedly running a cloth over a bookshelf when something catches his eye.
Whoa! Never thought I'd see this again.
Noct looks up from behind a nearby pile.
What?
Prompto retrieves a comic book from an open box next to the bookshelf.
This? I never noticed, but you got a ton of comics.
Some of them are yours too.
Prompto shoots him a disbelieving look.
Seriously?
Noct wanders over and withdraws another comic book from the box.
Hey, look at this.
Oh, man. I really wanted to read it one more time.
Why don't you?
Prompto grins mischievously.
Okay, you insist.
Hold it. You don't mean now, do you?
Neither of you has made any progress in cleaning. I understand you're doing this, but now is not the time.
Isn't it all going to get taken care of the Citadel?
Yeah.
Well, once that happens, I'll never be able to see it again.
Can't you just take what you want?
Can
No.
It's all going in a box you won't open again anyway.
I'll open and check. Thoroughly.
And who knows how long that'll take.
I? See?
Just give up and go back to cleaning.
They all resume their respective tasks, and the room falls silent.
Hey! There's more.
Oh, there's more.
Let's continue.
Let's.
Cleaning.
Yes.
This is the DLC, everyone. Having the giant worm monster was cool, but I really wish we got that apartment cleaning.
This is the Ignis DLC. Cleaning, cooking, reading.
All right, interior Noct's apartment later that night. It is somewhat later that night, and the room looks unrecognizable with only a few larger items of furniture remaining in place. Gladio deposits a final box on a pile by the door and turns to admire their handiwork.
Looks like we got it all squared away.
I know. But I never realized how big this place is.
And this is the last time you'll see it. When we return, Noct will begin his new life.
Hard to imagine.
His Highness will be married.
It hasn't hit me at all. I'm sure it'll all work out, though.
You mean you aren't nervous?
Noct considers this for a moment.
About, waking up on time?
Certainly.
Yeah, good point.
You haven't thought about it, have you?
Give me a little more credit than that. Still, thinking about it's not going to change much, is it?
Gladio nods sympathetically.
I get you.
Not easy being the prince, huh?
First things first, completing our journey.
Right.
Can't believe it's tomorrow already. Oh man, I'm so excited. Hey, did you study up about the outside?
Briefly, I haven't time to dedicate myself thoroughly to the task.
Yeah, too busy with your own preparations.
I have looked at some maps, but even if you ask around, nobody really knows anything.
It's a whole new world out there, huh?
There are all kinds of wild animals on the outside, right? I think they'll just walk up to us.
No. All I heard is that it's different than insomnia. At least that's what my old man says.
Well, the culture is similar to that of Insomnia 30 years ago, like a sprawling landscape from an old photograph.
Oh, I'm so psyched, but I'm so nervous. I don't know if I can sleep like this.
Well, if you can't sleep...
Noct pulls out his phone and taps the screen, booting up his favorite game.
Great idea!
Final Fantasy: A New Empire.
Can't be serious at a time like this.
Well, why not? We gotta be there for His Highness, don't we?
Besides, this is the last time we can do this here.
With a slightly theatrical sigh, and a resigned shake of the head, Ignis pulls out his own phone and begins playing. All right, let's go back to the top. I have a couple notes.
I don't think I could do the gravel justice for Geralt. Where he's howling. Something like that. I play Noctis in Final Fantasy 15, and I got started in voice acting by doing 160 audiobooks and e-learning and all that sort of stuff out of a 4-foot by 4-foot isolation hell booth with air conditioning for a number of years. And thankfully I was rescued, and now I get to play around with video games all day. It's a dream come true.
Mine is a very similar story. The actual route, TV, film, theatre, got across the United States, and was lucky enough to bump into people who said you should give voice acting a go. And many years later, started getting work in video games. I think my first one was Dead Island. Retired. I played an Australian called John Morgan. He was a tough sort of mercenary. And then very luckily got into Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor, which was great, and then into this, which is marvelous. So I absolutely love this work, and very very happy to be here.
Noodle.
Oh no, the cake is a lie.
It can be anything. How about that?
Oh.
No. Keeps the straight edge.
That's amazing what a sport coat can do.
No. I'm going to tell stories on somebody else. One of my closest friends came to see me at convention. He shall remain nameless. Actually, him and his buddy. And they were both remain nameless. And I was like, come up to this con. It'll be fun. And they got an extra room, and they were bumped up, and we went to the room. And this was a pretty big convention. And they just disappeared, and they were both dressed like 300 guys. And these were like the most normal like sporty kind of white guys in the world. So they were pretty much like con girl baits. It was just completely. So they went to this rave, and all I'll say is I found one of my buddies, and we went up and just hung out for a while, and then I found my other buddy and a My Little Pony at the room, and that's all I'll say. We had to go away for a little bit, and then we came back in an hour, and like Sunshine Sparkle was like sneaking out of our room. And I was like, My Little Pony, of all the choices. Yeah. I don't think he knew that. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell stories on other people. Yeah.
I'm really boring. I have no stories. Unless you can think of one.
It's true. Ray goes to bed at like 7:30. I'm like, dude, let's go hang out and have a drink. And he's like, nah, man, I'm gonna time travel. The first time he told us, I was like, what? He's like, sweet, man. Just go to bed at 8, wake up at 9, time travel. He's like, you can get him to go. But we had a really fun time. Ray and I went on a solo mandate in, where were we at? Was it New Zealand? No, where were we at? Where we did the adventure. We did the escape.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, we did it on a bro date and went on an escape room together. And we kicked his ass.
Most escape rooms are an hour. This one was 45 minutes. And we did it in an hour. So I think that is pretty good.
But it was made for 8 people.
Yeah, and Robbie and I did it in 45 minutes because the last room was just ridiculous.
It was very hard.
Ridiculous!
It was very hard.
But that's it. That's as wild as I get. I didn't have anything to drink. That was it. That's as far as I go.
That's a good one.
It's not con related. Alright, I got chased by a bull in Spain. Wanna hear that one? Alright, I was 16, this was a while ago. And we were in a place called Yalba, Spain, right outside of Madrid, and we were drinking all night. You do that when you're 16 there. And after a night of that, we went to go watch this sort of like bullfight thing where, you know, they have a bullfight. And we were standing there, and they kind of do this thing at the beginning where they kind of thump the bull and get it, you know, all wild. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but anyway, that's what they do. And so I'm standing on this fence and looking over, the bull's running around and everything, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. He jumps over the fence.
Oh my God.
He jumps over the fence.
I'm standing here.
Bull goes like this, right there. A couple of my buddies are here. He pushes over, goes, corre! You know, run. So we start running, and I'm running literally as fast as I think I have ever run in my life. And I turn around, and I remember this split-second moment. I look right into his eye.
Oh no!
And I felt this, and then everything out of focus, and mangled glasses over there. And he ran out, and I get up, and I go, my dad, am I okay? You're fine, you're good, you're everything. You know, and so I went to get an X-ray, and there was his print.
Oh no!
Yeah. Then later on, you know, go to bed, take off my pants, and I look at the back pocket. It has a hole in it.
Oh.
About that big around. He had missed goring me completely by 35 millimeters. Nothing. So that happened. It was terrifying.
I've also got a cool story because I don't have a con story. But I went to Spain to Pamplona to do the running of the bull. And this was when I was much younger too, and I was just and I'd been absolutely adamant that I was going to do this. And my girlfriend at the time was just like, no, we're doing it. She's like, please don't do it, please don't do it. And I was like, I'm going to do it. Please don't. And on the morning and the way in, because you go with a bunch of other people in the vans early in the morning, like 5 in the morning. I was in the back of the van, I was cold, and I was in another country, and there's always sort of unfamiliar faces around me, and I was sort of looking over her, and I was hoping that she would say again, please don't do it, please don't do it. And she didn't. And I was like, please, immensely, please say don't do it, and I won't do it today because I'm terrified now. And she didn't say it, so I'm like, okay, I'm committed. And arriving in San Fermin, and it's a festival, it's like a 2-week festival, and people do a lot of drinking on the streets. It's beautiful, but the streets smell slightly of vomit. You sort of, I was like, how will I recognise the runners? And they went, don't worry, you'll recognise them. So I went round into the main square of the South there, and there were, I don't know, hundreds of men and women, some dressed in sort of white with red sort of bandanas around their necks. And I was like, okay, you guys must be the runners. And some of the Spaniards were so like relaxed about it, they were sort of lying on the cobblestones like newspapers and a little like coffee, you know, and I was just like, how can you be that relaxed? We're about to like run the bulls. You know, yeah, pastoral. And I was like, okay, cool. So I managed to gravitate toward an American, and you line up at a particular time, and suddenly a cannon booms somewhere, like boom, and off you have to run. And the streets are cordoned off, so you're channeled along this channel. And the American dude was just very fast, and I was very adrenalized, and somehow we were like right out front. We were just like, like this. Came around the corner eventually, and there was a line of policemen and women like linked up arms in our way, and we sort of like, let us through, the bulls, and they were like, you know, what is it, sereno, tranquilo, tranquilo, they were like, tranquilo, and I was just like, no, you got it. And then there was a second boom, boom, and then that's when they released the bulls, so that we'd actually, I guess the front part of the group had come too fast, it wouldn't be sport or whatever. And now we know that the bulls are on their way, so eventually they open up and let us through. And again, I felt like, you know, I don't know, like Sonic or something. Faster than I've ever run. And eventually boom into the stadium. You know, the doors of the stadium open, and it's like, it must be 7 or 8 in the morning now, and it's packed. It's packed, right? Like from floor to ceiling, every seat just about seems to be taken out. And we all sort of run into the centre there, and the sort of phalanx of bulls just goes onto the path. They go through and out the doors on the other side, and then the doors close and the doors close, and there's sort of 500 runners sort of bent over, sort of like heaving for breath. Now I've had a little chance to recover at this point. I'm like, hold on, why is the audience still here? They're all just sort of waiting for something.
Oh no!
And suddenly the doors open on one side of the ring, and a fresh ball is let in. And it starts like coming towards us, but you know this because people just start popping out the crowd, like pop, as the ball is like just tossing it, like on the gong, and then like ragdolls, people just go, woo!
You know the feeling.
You might be one of those guys. And when I concentrated on that end of the room, the doors on the other end open up, and they let in yet another fresh ball, this time younger, and suddenly there's 2 of them going back and forth. Yeah, it was astonishing. An absolutely astonishing thing. And eventually, you know, you just like, this is too much. Like, I need to go over the balustrades now because, you know, death is very close. Yeah, amazing.